What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fans View podcast. This week, I am so excited to bring on somebody that I've personally been a fan of since 2011. My God, I'm getting old. I want to welcome to the show Kristen Balboni. She is the team reporter right now for the Carolina Panthers. You probably know her as Balbiz from her time at Mike and Mike in the Morning, or maybe Baylor Game Day, Stadium, Fox Sports. It's a laundry list of her accomplishments. Kristen, how are you doing this morning?
I am doing well, and Jarrett, we both feel old. 2011, I'm right there with you. And I told you this already, but I am in full mom mode today. So thank you for allowing me to sit on the floor and do this. I apologize to anyone watching for that. And if you're listening, then just pretend I didn't say that. You can pretend I'm in a studio, very professional. But if you're watching, I apologize for the unprofessionalism right now. I've got a toddler and a newborn at home, so bear with me.
We're gonna let her slide. She's still beautiful. She's still wonderful. I'm just gonna jump right into it because
Yeah.
I know you are in mom mode, so our time is short with you. Admittedly, like I said in the opening, I'm a huge fan of yours. I've been bothering you for probably 10 years now. Um,
I'm the worst about like I'm like, oh yeah, 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 like this and that. I apologize. You are the best. I appreciate all your support, and I'm so happy that you are starting in this media world, or you're starting this podcast specifically. It's great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, guys, I think I've been waiting on an autograph for like a decade, but it's cool. We love her anyway.
I'll get you that. I promise. I don't. You don't need that anymore. I need yours.
Yeah, right. So, obviously, like I said, most people know you if they're not a Panthers fan, regionally especially. They know you from Mike and Mike. What was it like working on? I mean, I would say it was hands down, especially at the time. It was the most popular original program that ESPN had. What was it like working with two people like Mike and Mike?
It was honestly great. You always wonder, and I think a lot of people on the outside wonder, are they as great as they come across? You never know with like big people, big stars in the sports world. Are they, divas behind the scenes? What's that like? They're not. They're exactly the same people that you would see on air, and they were so kind to me um, throughout my time there. I was there for about 3.5 years. I was right out of college. I felt very lucky to kind of stumble into that opportunity as their researcher. And then they really kind of created this cast of characters with all of us, producers, behind the scenes, myself. So, I mean, them giving me that opportunity was something I never dreamed of. And then also behind the scenes, they were incredibly supportive of my career. Greeny gave me a ton of advice. He let me meet their agent. You know what I mean? It was just really, really kind. And Golick is one of the funniest people. I mean, you see it on the show, but he's just so funny. I know that if I ever had like a flat tire, he would come out and change it. He's just, he's the uncle you always want. So I have nothing but great things to say about both of them. And I feel incredibly lucky that I got to start my career on such a huge stage. That's certainly something that you never ever imagine as a 23-year-old, right? I thought I was going to have
Right.
to go back to my hometown in North Carolina, and I said, okay, I'm going to go to ESPN for 1 year as a researcher. It's a great opportunity, and then I'm going to go back and try to do local news, right? That's how most people get their start. So I am just still incredibly so grateful, and I can't believe my good luck with their kindness.
Yeah, that is so good to hear. Because, like I said, I was such a fan from the outside. It's good to know that Greeny and Golick are Greeny and Golick when the camera's off. Obviously, one thing that I have to ask, which isn't as great, it's come out years later, and even the months after the show ended, that while they were nice guys separately, things didn't really gel anymore towards the end of that show. Obviously, you weren't there at the end, but what was your experience with the dynamic between the mics? Was there any tension even back then?
It's a great point that you bring up, Jarrett, is that I wasn't there at the end, which is where I think it got more contentious. Again, I can't say for sure, but when I was there, they were wonderful to each other. They played golf together. It felt like, and I know I said this about Golick being an uncle, but they felt like relatives, right? And
Right.
and best friends. They'd been working together for almost 20 years. They were very close with each other's kids. and that bond, that dynamic was really, really strong. And I would actually say it was more strong off camera. So they had this little bit of antagonistic quality on camera, where of course Golick would make fun of Greeny, and then Greeny would make fun of Golick for different things. And I thought they were very, very convivial, very kind, and really just, we would travel and they would go out to dinner, right? I mean,
Right.
those kinds of things. I think, if I'm not mistaken, their kids called each other Uncle Mike. So it was really wonderful when I was there. And you hate to see what we perceive. I don't know the specifics. It was something that I never
Right.
felt comfortable asking after I left, just to respect their privacy.
Right.
But you always hope that that relationship continues. And I was sad to see them separate because I have so many good memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you spend that much time with somebody, you're bound to, want to claw their eyes out at some point.
I'm hoping that one day we'll get a reunion. I don't know.
Yeah.
It may be too late, but I think that would be amazing.
Let's keep our fingers crossed. But we need a Balbiz sighting now if we get that reunion. We'll get Liam and Balbiz together. It's going to be
Yes.
wonderful.
Oh, those guys are the best.
I'm already booking it in my head. So, as amazing as your time was with Mike and Mike, you had some stops in between. Obviously, you went to Baylor. You were doing some work for Baylor for the university for the football team. You were at Stadium. You did some work with Fox. But obviously, where you are now, you're back home in your home state, of North Carolina. How great is it? And albeit I'm asking 4 years after you got the job, but how great is it to be in your home state again, starting a family? You're covering the Panthers, your hometown team. I mean, how great is it to be home for this chapter of your life?
Jared, let me just say before I start, as someone who started out as a researcher and works in this space, you do your homework and you have nailed everything right on the head. And I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, how many years? You know what I mean? It's 4 years. That's exactly right. I would have to count backwards. I really appreciate that. It has been amazing. I grew up here, and my family is here. My husband's family is here, and I just never thought. So I've been a fan of the Panthers since I was young, and so has my husband. So even when I went to ESPN, Stadium, Fox, all of those places, I always worked for a network, and I
Right.
never, being on a team, especially a pro NFL team, being a part of that, felt very foreign to me. Like it seemed kind of like this goal, because I would watch them on TV every week. We bought
Right.
we bought like the big NFL Sunday package when we lived in Chicago, and that was not cheap, to watch this team that we grew up loving. And I would have never thought, even with my background, that I would be able to work for this team that I loved so much. So that has been incredible. And talk about, behind the scenes, everyone there is really lovely, because you never know if you go to a team, like, are they going to be great? Is it dysfunctional? All of those things.
Right.
And I can say firsthand that they really are great. And I've had a great experience there. And then, like you said, to be back home, to be able to ask grandma for babysitting, we had that yesterday, all of
Yes.
those things has just been really wonderful, because when you move all over the country, you wonder sometimes, like, if you ever are going to get back. You miss holidays, as working in sports,
Yeah.
you're working weekends, you're working holidays. I was traveling a lot, and so there were things that I couldn't get back home to especially living in California. I could not get back home all the time for these really important things with my family. And so to be back in the same state has really just been a dream, and I feel incredibly lucky.
That's such a great answer. I love that. And on the flip side of that, how hard was it in 2020? You're starting a completely new role. Like you said, you've always had the safety net of being with a network. This time, this is Kristen. This is on you. You're with the team, and they're gonna give you every resource, but this is on you. How hard is it? You're in a new role, a new living situation, and oh yeah, there's this whole worldwide pandemic thing going on. How difficult was that?
I really felt, by the time that I got to the Panthers, I've been doing this for 10 years. Again, 2011 is when I started at Mike and Mike. I'm dating myself here. But I had done live, Mike and Mike was live for 4 hours. Now, was I on there every 4 hours? No, for the entire time, like Greeny and Golick? No. But Mike and Mike was on in that time slot live. I love doing live. I did sideline at Fox and Stadium. I did studio shows. I did live streams. I did all of that. And so I felt like there was nothing that the Panthers could throw at me that I was not ready for. And I don't say that to sound cocky. I just felt very prepared. Whereas
Right.
2 years before, I think I really needed those reps. And
Yeah.
so I felt really good, and I also was excited to produce all these different ideas to and bring them to them. But I think the hardest thing, as you said, was the pandemic. I started in March of 2020, so I started from home. My first year doing sideline, my first season, there was no one in the stadium. So the Panthers played the Raiders in the first game of the season. It was at home, and you can hear all the calls on the field. I mean, there was truly no one in there, no fans, and there was just media. They got a few fans back, like maybe 2,000. They all set all over the stadium by the end, but it was so wild. Although it also gave me a really great look. If I'm looking at the positives, it gave me a really great look at the field, at the players. You can concentrate just fully on it. So that was interesting. But we did a lot of Zooms. I did a thing called, which I'm proud of, walkie talkie talk. So I talked to the players from walkie talkies because we had to be socially distant. So I had Christian
Right.
McCaffrey. I had some of the biggest, Shaq Thompson, some of the biggest names. But I don't think I ever met those people in person until like a year and a half later. So that was definitely the
Wow.
biggest challenge.
That is insane. I forget how crazy it got during that time.
Don't we all? Yeah, we're trying to
we
forget it.
yeah, we're trying to repress it still right here in 2024. So what would you say are some of the funnest parts or most enjoyable parts of your job today? And on the other side of that coin, what are some of the struggles, maybe even that, Joe Public wouldn't understand, wouldn't even realize that it's a struggle?
You have great questions. Um, so I think the most fun parts, and I've always said this, is that I have the best seat in the house for games. I mean, I'm on the sideline and I get to talk about it. To me, as a football fan, I am watching the highest level of the game from the sideline. There's only, I think they give out, you get these armbands for the sideline, and I think they give out 20 a game. So I'm one of the 20 people that is not on the team or support staff that get to watch. And I still can't get over it four seasons in. I think it's amazing. And I'm like, how did they let me do this? So to me, that's my favorite part. I also love doing live stuff and coming up with ideas. So I really feel like it's a totally, it encompasses everything that I love, and no day is the same, which is really incredible. I get to do all sorts of stuff. I would say that the biggest challenge, gosh, I really love it all. I'd say the biggest challenge is when your team is losing, right? And
Yeah.
you
Rebuilding,
want to do
rebuilding.
well, no, I mean they've had losing records, I think is a fair way to say, or you go on like a 3 game losing streak, what the Panthers
Yeah.
have while I was there.
Right.
And you want to support the team, but you have all these fun ideas and you're like, well, that's not really gonna work
Yeah.
right now. And you feel for these players and these coaches because you see them every day behind the scenes and they're putting in the hard work, and for whatever reason it's just not panning out for them.
Right.
So I think that has been the toughest thing, but I'm hoping with this new regime that we start out on a good foot this year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Bryce has another year under his belt, so hopefully things start to turn around this year. It's a very winnable division, so things are looking up. Um, at this stage in your career, and in your life, in your personal life, like we've said, you're a mother, you're a wife. Um, what does success mean to you?
Oh, wow. What a great question. I would say it's being able to balance. I mean, none of us have balance, right? Really, you have a 2 year old too. So I would say probably being able to balance what I'm doing with also not missing those big things, whether it's my parents or my children, my husband. That has been, like I said, such a tough thing to balance in the past. And I took a step back with the Panthers. I'm still doing the TV show, I'm still doing sideline, I'm still doing segments, but I said, hey, can I come in 2 days a week, because I really don't want to miss this time with my
Yeah.
children. And they have let me do that, and I don't know what other organization would allow that. So I still get to do these incredibly fun parts, but they've really helped me consolidate my schedule so that I can do it, or I can do podcasts from home. So those things have been amazing. And I think that is success for me, which is I don't care as much about being on every single thing or taking that next step as I did when I was younger, going from ESPN to Fox. I was like, okay, and it was a huge step, right? I get to do my own stuff, but I'm not going to move around the country again. I mean, unless there's a crazy, Good Morning America calls, which I don't think they will. I I want to stay here in North Carolina. I want to continue working for the Panthers until they tell me not to. And I want to be with my kids and my family. So that is success now, which is less work, more family time.
What a beautiful answer. You don't disappoint. I loved you before this interview, but you just don't disappoint.
Oh, thank you.
Um, what would you say? This is the Fans View podcast, obviously. So, what are you a fan of when you're not at Bank of America, when you're not in front of a camera, when you're not being chased down by toddlers? What are you a fan of?
I really am a fan of the NFL. I love coming home. Panthers play a lot of 1 o'clock games. I love coming home and watching Sunday night football, or, if I can catch the 4 o'clock games, Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football. It's so fun to sit down with my husband and watch those. I also I would say, in terms of TV, I was a big Bravo fan. I loved all of the Vanderpump Rules, the Below Decks. I have not gotten a chance to watch a lot of it with the two little ones. I mean, truly, I'm so behind. I have a friend of mine that she's like, "What are you doing? Like, I want to talk to you about all of this stuff." So I'm a
We're
fan of
watching Paw
less things.
Patrol. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we are. We are, Chase is on the case.
Yep,
Let's take
Rebel
to
on
the
the double.
skies.
Let's
That's
do
right.
it.
I do love Rebel. The people that don't have kids are like, "What are you talking about right now?" But I think I'm less of a fan of things and more of a fan of getting to watch my kids. I like to ride my Peloton. Again, done less of that since I'm on maternity leave. But I think it's just kind of taking it slow. We're going on a lot of walks, instead of doing a lot of crazy activities. We're going to the park, things like that. We spend a lot of time outside at the pool, at the lake, those kinds of things. So I need to get my fandom up and have a little bit more adult time. And hopefully the next time we talk, I can tell you, here are the things that I'm doing. But I'm going to be honest, football's a big part of it. I enjoy watching
Yeah,
it even when I'm not covering it.
that's awesome. Yeah, we could do a full podcast on Paw Patrol. We are very well versed, I'm sure. And finally, let's bring this thing home. I like to do this with every guest that I have on. You're a Tar Heel,
Hmm.
admittedly a Clemson Tiger, but I love you anyway. You're a Tar Heel, so I would like to get your Mount Rushmore of UNC athletes not named Michael Jordan.
Oh, okay. Julius Peppers.
Oh yes, great answer.
I am going to put Tyler Hansborough on that list. I know that if you are not a fan of UNC, you're like, come on. But he was great. He was great for the Tar Heels. He really got in there with those elbows and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Took us to two national championships, if I'm remembering correctly. And I was there at school for one of them, which is so fun.
awesome.
Mia Hamm, I'm
Okay.
putting on that list. Just an all-time great. And then, gosh, okay, I have one more. Who do I want to pick? Oh, oh my gosh. I am going to say I can't put Michael Jordan on there. I've
No, no,
actually I
he's in an
need
echelon of himself.
I need one more. I mean, it's going to be a basketball player. I'm trying to kind of think through. You know what? I'm going to give it to someone that probably you wouldn't say, but Marcus Page a few years
Oh,
ago, really, I know, kind of an underdog. He really,
okay.
really tried his best. He had that crazy shot against Vanderbilt, and then they came back and beat them at the last second. And I think that is a kid that tried his hardest. He's now in coaching. He tried his hardest, and he gave us a lot of good memories. And my heart just breaks for him in that national championship game. I mean, it broke for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think like that is a kid that really embodied the Tar Heel way, which is so much better than the Clemson way. I'm just kidding. And so I would put him up there, just not for any stats, not for winning anything, but that's a kid that you're super proud of, that you would say like this is someone that we're really excited to be fans of.
I love that. And yeah, Michael Jordan. We can't put Michael Jordan on a Mount
It's
Rushmore.
fair. That's a tough
He's his
question, but
he's
yes,
his own Rushmore.
he is.
But Kristen, I want to thank you so much. They say don't meet your heroes, but you've exceeded expectations. Um,
Thank you.
where can people watch your content? Obviously, you're still doing some segments and stuff with the Panthers. Where can
Yeah,
people get
so
that?
all of Panthers.com is a great resource. Everything that I do goes on there, and also the YouTube channel is a big thing. And then they take Instagram clips, they take TikTok clips, but those are the two. Oh, and then if you are in the local market, which I don't know how many people that listen to this are, I'm sure they're all across the country, but we are on TV on the weekends. So check your local listings. So but I would say the biggest thing that we like doing is Panthers.com, and it goes out on Twitter and things like that.
Awesome, awesome, guys. Give her a follow on. I think she's on. Are you on Instagram? I know you're
Yeah,
on
I am.
Twitter.
Yep.
Instagram, Twitter, give her a follow. She won't disappoint. She's as wonderful off camera too as she is on. Kristen, like I said, I just want to thank you. I know you're in mom mode. You were nice enough to give us almost a half hour of your time. Hopefully we can come back on in a couple months or whatever, revisit this, and
We
we'll
will.
talk some football. We didn't even
Yes.
get to talk football this time. We had to talk your illustrious career up to this point. So again, I just want to say thank you to you coming on today, and I hope everybody, has a great season this year. We're looking for a turnaround.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jared, so much for letting me do this, and we will absolutely do it again in a couple months.
Thank you, and we'll see you guys next time right here on the Fans View.